Time of year again. It is getting towards the end of the year, and today, me and Matt Curcio, we're going to share some insights with you, some things you may not be thinking about, but you should be thinking about that can make your 2019 much, much more plentiful. What do you think, Mr. Curcio? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Yeah, I just wanted to shoot a live today. It's the end of the year. This is when everybody's sitting back, figuring out what their fees totaled up to, what their commissions were, how they're going to, set their year up for next year. So I wanted to kind of interview you a little bit for the public, and then we'll share some of the stuff we got coming up in January, where they can get some coaching, especially locally here, and with your company. But in general, I titled this online myself as end of year update and some things that I know that every year in my career continue to ask every single year, right? And the main questions were basically, is it time for me to ask my broker for a raise, or a reduction in my fees? I was at a fee-based company. And then if you're on a team, is it time to step off a team?
Right.
Then what can you do to build up your business, right? How do you make, if you did 10 sales, how do you go to 20? And obviously net income was always important to me. And then what other companies out there have some other things to offer versus where some of these agents may be in their career, So I guess first off, let's hear from you, man. At what point in an agent's career should they be talking to their broker? Obviously calendar years are different depending on where you are, but as you start selling more and more, at what point, based on your experience, should me as an agent ask my broker for a higher split or a reduction in fees and costs?
Man, it's a great question. And to show everyone how unprepared I am for these questions, I mean, these are going to be straight from the cuff. No preparation on my part for any of these questions. That's not Matt's fault. That was my fault because I didn't take the time to look at these questions ahead of time. But yeah, the number one thing to me is, first of all, you should know how much you paid to be wherever you're at. I don't care how much business you did this year. You should know how much money that you made that brokerage. And there's a certain number that, once you get to a certain number of money that you paid into a brokerage, that you have to start questioning whether or not the value is there, no matter how great the relationship is. Even, me, I had to deal with that, and even with my dad who owned Coldwell Banker, the Coldwell Banker in our marketplace. I was there for 10 years. I had to do the math, and it was significant that I couldn't continue to do that. And over the years, I always asked that the question, well, how much what is being contributed for me? Where's my business coming from? I think the first thing that you should know the answer to in order to be willing to have this conversation is what percentage of the business was given to you by the brokerage, and how much money did that represent into your net profit as a percentage versus how much business did you earn on your own through your own efforts. And that's going to be a really sobering question to ask if you do that. Go do that homework, or if you haven't done it, go do it, because you're going to see that. You're either going to see, wow, I don't have my own systems in place for generating consistent, new clients to do business with, or you're going to see that you're really not getting any value from the brokerage side of things, and that you would have probably done these deals regardless of where, whether you have balloons on your sign or you have, a big golden sign or whatever it is, right? There's not, the value is in the relationships that you have with your customers and your clients, not so much in the things that the brokerage may be doing for you. So those are kind of the starting points, in my opinion, that you have to kind of start with.
Got you. So, let's talk about fees too, because there's some people that are fee based. What are fair fees for a brokerage? When it comes to, I guess you can break down models quicker than I can. So I know, and you've been in more models than me, but at the end of the day, when you look at costs, what is fair? And at what point do you say, hey, what about this E&O fee? And I heard from an agent recently that got hammered by E&O to the tune of thousands, and they didn't realize it that it was per transaction until the end of the year. So, obviously, what can you tell somebody to look at? What's a general guideline with all these companies that's fair?
Yeah. So, your E&O is generally speaking in a lot of brokerages, your E&O is a profit center for the brokerage. It's, they don't never tell you that, but that's in a lot of ways, that's the case. I mean, typically, if you're paying for your own E&O and you're independent, you're going to pay a whole lot less than what you're maybe paying per transaction. So as far as what I would say is a fair amount to be paying for E&O, in a brokerage is I wouldn't want to be paying more than $500 a year towards E&O, and that's just one fee that I wouldn't want to be paying. And I think another thing that people tend to not maybe look at fee wise is the transaction fee that the brokerage may be charging your client, and you don't necessarily look at that because it's not coming out of your pocket. But what my experience has been is that that those are fees that you could be charging for your client. And, you add, a $495 or a $395 transaction fee to your business model, and you do, 3 or 4 transactions a month. That could be paying for you an employee, potentially a full-time employee, to take a lot of the $10 an hour stuff off your plate, and instead it's going to the brokerage. And so, when you're looking at all of these fees, you got to look at what are all the ways that the brokerage is making money, what's their business model, and how they're making money. And, is that an opportunity if I was somewhere else that I could be, increasing, the revenue that I'm earning, that in that way. So I don't know if there's what would you say, Matt? I mean, as far as, some of the different, fee-based models that, in talking to agents, where do you see people getting whacked over the head?
Man, I mean, E&O, definitely keep an eye on. Something that I realized later was I had a showings company fee that, as a team leader, and my personal production, that equated to thousands annually for my, the model was that they might have charged the company, I think, somewhere around $20 per listing. And, we got or $40 a list. I think it was $40 a listing. So that was, passed through to me. But at the end of the day, when I put in 80 listings a year, that's a huge number for the company versus the agent who puts in 3. So look for those small fees definitely add up at your brands. But, at the end of the day, if there's a way to cut down, I know a lot of companies, Remax and all the other big ones, have like a 6% fee. A portion of that stays in that main office, and only a very small portion usually goes to the international brand. So a lot of companies, and you'll hear as you grow in business, that the some agents have lowered, percentages,
right.
And maybe it's time, depending on what that number calculated to, maybe you talk to your broker and say, hey man, if I'm paying 6, but I'm selling 4 times as much, can we reduce that after I hit a certain number to like 4%?
Right.
And that might help some people lower the costs at the end of the year. And again, this isn't to net more money in your pocket. These are just little things that you can do to help your career and help you, put more money into growing your business. But those little, thousands at a time, like you said, they pay for an employee to be in your company, which allows you to go out and get another listing and maybe take on a buyer's agent and things like that. So
no doubt.
Yeah, so that's good info. First, actually, I want to let everybody know you guys can follow us or should follow us. Jay is an excellent coach. Still runs a great coaching company. So we're going to put his Instagram and Facebook links in the comments below, and then myself too. I'll put mine in there in case you guys want to follow us. I know Jay's definitely maxed out on friends on Facebook. I was close, but I went through and cleaned out, so I got some room.
I do the same thing from time to time.
Yeah. But
I'd love to help you. So I mean, that's what I'm passionate about the most, is helping. There should be a disclaimer on my Instagram if you're going to follow. So yeah, it's pretty open and real. So if you enjoy that kind of thing, it definitely, you'll get a look at the redneck in me for sure.
Yeah. All right. So question 2, man, if you are on a team, man,